Hey everyone, this is D, Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addicts, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. And today, I'm coming to you all with a review for Sisu, directed by Jalmari Helander, and starring Jorma, Tommila, Aksel, Hennie, and Doolan. Story-wise, the film is centered around Atami, an ex-soldier who makes an unexpected discovery of gold in the Lapland wilderness. However, when he attempts to deliver the gold to the nearest town, he is forced to reckon with a brutal battalion of Nazi soldiers who have sorely underestimated their newest target. So, I'm going to start with the pros. Now, this film had plenty I was expecting to enjoy, but it also had a few things that I was not expecting at all. As I previously mentioned, this film is directed by Jalmari Helander, who is a Finnish screenwriter and director. He's previously directed the films Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale in 2010 and Big Game in 2014. Now, regarding his inspiration for this film, he looked to the 1982 action film First Blood and the real-life Finnish military sniper Simo Häyhä. But naturally, it has also drawn obvious comparisons to the John Wick franchise, Mad Max Fury Road, and Inglourious Basterds. I can certainly say that there are specific elements you can pluck out of all three of those films and apply to this one. Sometimes those kind of comparisons can be lazy and somewhat loose, but here I can absolutely see the similarities and just where those films connect in a lot of different ways. The biggest standout here, of course, is the intense violence and gore. Now, let me make it clear that that can be very dicey depending on the story and film that we're talking about. Terrifier? Evil Dead Rise? Nope. But when it comes to other types of violence and gore in certain films, it's just like, I don't know. There's something very engaging and entertaining about it, especially when it's handled well. I've mentioned before that the first John Wick film and Logan are probably the films that gave me my earliest appreciation as an adult of strong violence and gore. Depending on your experience, when you're younger, it's either parents are like covering your eyes or you just happen to see it and it's just like, ugh, like, what's this? With the exception of Sleepy Hollow. I saw that one when I was fairly young and I absolutely loved it. Yes, it was a whole lot, especially looking in the inner parts of slashed open necks, and yeah, that was new for me. But considering how awesome that film is, it gave me my earliest like, okay, I think I can get past this. So then John Wick and Logan pretty much cemented it. And I realized, oh, this is why this works for people. And they really get into it because it's really, really working for me. Oh my gosh. The bloodshed, the bullets, the slicing and dicing. My goodness. Where has this been all my life? And this film does not pull any punches in that regard. We see limbs. We see guts, we see blood just flying across the screen, and how glorious it is. What's also really important is that the majority of it is practical effects, which I am also always here for. I also enjoyed the cinematography and location shooting immensely. Our cinematographer here is Kjell Lagerus, and I thought he did a wonderful job here. It was absolutely one of the bigger highlights for me. And I say that because obviously we have the gore and the violence and all of that, but we have all these moments in between, and even when some of that stuff is happening, where we have this beautiful, gorgeous landscape surrounding everything and is playing a major part in the story. You guys already know the wanderlust for me is so real. I am here for a landscape. I am here for overseas locations and exotic locations. This was actually filmed in Lapland, which is the largest and northernmost region of Finland. I think it speaks for itself. Once you've seen it, you won't forget it. And again, I thought it was such a wonderful backdrop for this story. To an extent, I like that this film was fairly straightforward and simple. We have a man who is just trying to achieve a particular goal, and there are obstacles in his way. So he has to do whatever he can to remove those obstacles. Yes, there's more going on within that, but the general story is pretty much that. Lastly, I thought the lack of extensive dialogue was a really interesting choice. A good amount of what is happening here is relying on non-verbal communication. For me, I thought that was a nice change of pace. We're just focused on the actions of what is going on and not just the words necessarily. All right, now I'm going to jump over to the cons. We were so close, weren't we? So first off, although this film is distinctive enough, I think because it draws so many parallels and comparisons to those other films, it's going to cause this experience to feel like something you've seen before, even though I would argue you haven't. I just think, unfortunately, it's just not going to feel like a completely original, completely new, like, wow, I haven't seen this before, because of that attachment. That's not to say that it doesn't have its own distinct style or vision, but I also think that distinguishing it from some of those other films may be a bit of a challenge. I think that there is a significant issue that this film shares with two of the films that I've already mentioned. I have enjoyed and still enjoy Mad Max Fury Road. It was a huge surprise for me, but a big criticism of that film, which I agree with to some extent, is that the story and the narrative is fairly thin. You know, the action takes precedence and all the spectacle visually, that's more so at the forefront. We do have something that's there, but it's not as significant or as grand as what we're seeing play out from a visual standpoint. That is somewhat the same issue here. The dialogue isn't really there, and the story and development isn't quite there either. As I said before, I do like the fact that it's simple and straightforward, but does it lack a little bit of dimension? Is it really exploring a whole lot as far as the story and what we see as far as the dynamics with the main character? Not so much. I also wish that this film was purely in the Finnish language. I know that the majority of it was likely done in English for marketing, and we already know how a lot of folks are when it comes to subtitles and foreign films and all of that. But I just thought it would have been nice to have had that experience. That's actually what I was expecting going in. And it would have been nice to just see everything play out with that language at the forefront, especially because there's already not that much dialogue. So to me, it wouldn't have been a big deal to just go there and have that language featured significantly. Lastly, to tie things back into John Wick, although I did enjoy John Wick Chapter 4 for the most part, it was absolutely a thrill ride in so many ways. I did have issues with that film completely diving off the cliff as far as the suspension of disbelief. A good amount of the time, I can just go with the flow and I can have a good time with something that's silly and over the top and just really going overboard, right? But then there are other moments where I'm just like, oh my gosh, can we please establish some rules here? Can we ground this just a little bit and just play by whatever rules have been established? Like, just a little bit of realism. It's all I'm asking for. I think for the most part, this film does a really great job towing the line with that. But then they have something happen in the latter act of the film, which completely threw me off. There's a certain seriousness that's established here. Yes, there's some slight dark comedy throughout, But this is a fairly serious story that's going on, and that tone is evident throughout the majority of the film. So once that happened, it felt like that tone got undermined completely. I'll be honest, the people in my theater even laughed when it happened. They were just like, okay. So for me, that was my biggest frustration because throughout the film, had no issues, no real complaints. Like, I'm here for the journey and I'm going along with it. And then it's like, here we are, and we have no idea how to land the plane properly. And yes, pun intended. So, I'm going to give Sisu a B minus. As I said before, there is plenty that I enjoyed and appreciated about watching this film and just the experience of it in general. I do think that it's worth the watch, but I would be lying if I said that this last piece didn't kill a little bit of the experience and just the journey. It was kind of like, eh. But that aspect aside, I thought it was so fun to see this really unique vision of World War II, of Finland, of Nazis, and naturally, a whole lot of intense, brutal, and bloody action. Sisu is currently playing in theaters. You guys feel free to check it out, leave your thoughts below, and let me know what you think. So, once again, this is D Movieman, signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.